Could it be that the 10% of Americans that own 88% of the stocks in the stock market are just trying to scare the rest of America by saying that Donald Trump's tactics and strategy are going to create a trade war and they're not going to work? Are they trying to throw Americans under the bus with their media that they own and control? Before we address that, let's get into the two trump cards that President Trump and the United States hold with regards to trade. Number one, the first trump card. The USA has the biggest economy on earth. How big, Jay? $30.3 trillion big. That's trillion with a capital T. Let's put this into perspective. China, which is second, has a GDP or a gross domestic product of only $19.5 trillion. Now remember, the US has $30.3 trillion in GDP. That's everything they spend in their economy. Remember, that's what GDP means. And China is a distant second. Now let's go a little further here. This is going to blow your minds. Let's talk about the other 8 places in the top 10. Germany, the UK, France, Italy, Japan, India, Canada, Brazil, that's 8. You add up those 8 countries, they're in the top 10. Remember, they collectively have a GDP of $27.7 trillion. Now remember, the US's GDP was $30.3 trillion. So one country beats 8 countries in the world. That's leverage, and that's a trump card in his negotiations. What country on the planet is going to tell President Trump that, hey, yeah, we don't need you guys. I think we can diversify to China and the rest of the countries in the world? I don't think so. I think they're going to deal with the biggest country in the world, which is the United States of America. The second trump card that President Trump holds, and the United States holds really, is that they have the most powerful military on the planet. And by most powerful, you can check the link below. You'll also find that Russia is number 2 and China is number 3. Why does that matter in a trade negotiation, Jay? Isn't this separate from military? We've got something called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and that's mostly European countries. And who are they scared of mostly? Not the United States. They're scared of Russia. And what has Russia been doing lately? They've been invading Ukraine. And they've also been setting up an alliance with China, which is number 3 in the world for military. Europe has a choice. These countries, and President Trump's going to put it very bluntly, hey, we're not on the European continent. And yeah, it would be terrible to see you guys invaded by Russia, but if you don't want to play ball and you want to trade with China and Russia over us, go to it, because they have less of an economy than we do. Do you remember South Korea that had the big disagreement with North Korea, who is supported by China? I don't think that they would want the US to leave their territory and be left to the devices of North Korea and China. Neither Japan or Taiwan. China's actually claimed Taiwan, and the only thing standing in the way of Taiwan becoming part of China is the USA. The only thing standing in the way of all of Asia becoming part of China is the USA. So I think that's a big bargaining chip on the table there. And so it is with Australia and the Philippines and a number of other countries. You want a strong United States. You don't want a United States with $36 trillion of debt and get deeper in debt every year. Soon the US isn't going to be able to protect you in Europe or Southeast Asia if they can't get that debt under control. And they won't be able to get that debt under control unless they can bring jobs back to the US, because they need taxpayers that pay a lot of taxes. We've got 10% of Americans who own 80% of those stocks in the stock market, and they're willing to throw the rest of America under the bus. And that's what they've been doing for decades now. Let's look at it right now. The trade deficit with China alone has cost the United States of America, the people of the US that pay the bills and elected Donald Trump to make America great again, they're the ones that have lost 3.82 million jobs to China since 2001. And they've been losing every year, they've been losing 300,000 good paying jobs to the rest of the world. And that has to stop. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. But those 10% that own and control the media in the States have tried to change the narrative. They've tried to scare Americans and say, well, there's nothing you can do about it. I guess you're just going to have to put up with trillions and trillions of debt, and eventually you're not going to be the biggest power in the world, and we're okay with that. No, we're not okay with that. I live here in Canada. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay okay living under the World Economic Forum's rule, or China's rule, or Russia's rule, or the EU's rule, where free speech laws are non-existent. I love a free and powerful America. Look, I don't own any stocks in the stock market. I appreciate that we do need a stock market. I appreciate it very much that there are people who are willing to invest in businesses that I work for. What I don't appreciate is the news media omitting stuff like this. The 2 Trump cards that the US has. I do not work for CNN. I do not work for Fox News. I definitely do not work for the CBC, CTV, or Global News, or BBC. So I'm looking for your support. Please subscribe to my channel, because I'm not getting paid here to do this. It would be great if one day I could get paid a little bit, because this does take a lot of research. And God bless America, and God bless Alberta, USA. Thank you very much for watching.